Hello everyone, welcome back to the Rogue Report. My name is Matt, and if you're familiar with this podcast, this is just me rambling on here by myself. I'm going to tackle a specific topic. Today's topic is actually just going to be basically my study in the food industry. I've been in and out of restaurants my entire life. I had a bit of a culinary arts background when I was in high school. I'll get to that because there is just something else that I also wanted to discuss a little bit here. And that's going to be the fact that today is the 24th. So this doesn't come out until like a week after this. So a couple of days. It's probably been like 10 days. And today is the first night of the NFL draft. The biggest thing for my team, the Steelers, is the fact that we still don't have a quarterback. I mean, we have two, but we're not set on who's going to start the season. Whether it's going to be Mason Rudolph, who is signed currently. We also have another quarterback signed. I think it's Skylar Thompson. And that's the only quarterbacks we have signed. And it's been like this now. I mean, ever since Ben Roethlisberger even came to the team, we were spoiled at quarterback for a very long time, having somebody as great as him. But now we're stuck in this limbo that Aaron Rodgers has created. Aaron Rodgers is, I've talked about this multiple times now, whether I've discussed it on this podcast, I've definitely mentioned it on SCP, and probably just randomly said something about it in a random gameplay video. But ever since, I don't know, late February, early March, so about almost 2 months of Pittsburgh dealing with Aaron Rodgers, dealing with his own personal issues, coming up with the decision whether or not he's going to play football again. Now, when it comes to the Steelers, I guess I really don't. I mean, it's all about winning enough games so you can make to the playoffs and then have the opportunity to play in the playoffs, and then you have to win those games. Because this is going to go back to last season where Mike Tomlin. And we started Justin Fields, and I want to say he started off and he was 4-2 or 5-2 or something, and then Mike Tomlin wanted to make the switch to see what Russell Wilson can do. Now, Russ had some games here, and he had some bad games here. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. I remember that whole choice that he made. It wasn't the decision, I guess, that I was really upset with. I was more along the lines of what he was saying. Poor choice of words there, coach. He said something on the lines of, I'm not here to win games. I'm here to win championships. He literally said out loud, I don't care about winning games. I care about winning championships. I'm like, Mike, you gotta win games in the regular season to make it into the playoffs. And then once we get to the playoffs, you have to win those games. You got to win games to win championships. You son of a bitch. It was just a really dumb quote. Goddamn. And now, I don't know. I think this was. This would have been, I think this was Thursday last week. So about literally a week ago today, Aaron Rodgers broke his silence, since the end of the season, since the end of the Jets season, really. He broke his silence. I think it would have been after the Jets had let him go. And then his side of the story is actually really makes the Jets look so bad. But that's also one of those reasons. What do the Steelers, what does Mike Tomlin see in Aaron Rodgers? What does anybody see in Aaron Rodgers that makes them want him to start playing football? At the end of the year, he will be 42 years old. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have it because he's rather old. Me personally, fucking sign this man. Let's get him. People were saying, I think it was Devontae Adams loosely said to somebody in an interview. I don't know if this is a very good quote, if this is reputable or whoever said this, but Adams made the assumption that Aaron Rodgers has not signed with the Steelers as of yet because nobody has rolled out the red carpet for him. That he wants the entire fucking city to show up and be yeah, come play for us. Meanwhile, there's a billboard somewhere in Pittsburgh. If you're leaving the city and going through what is the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, going that way, there is a billboard that literally says, don't sign Aaron Rodgers, or sell the team if you sign Aaron Rodgers, or something like that, or don't make the same mistakes, Roonies, and shit like that. And coming to the draft now, draft day, and we still don't have Aaron Rodgers. I highly suggest. I'm not suggest. I guess I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I highly advise that the Steelers draft a quarterback, even though we're probably waiting for next year's class. I don't even know who these people are really, but I don't follow college ball enough to honestly care about the draft. Like, once you're in the NFL, that's when you're relevant to me. No offense to college, like basketball or football or any college sport. Like, I watch college sports, but it's not what I'm about. I guess I'm just more about professional sports, I guess. And when it comes to football, for sure I'm watching any NFL game. Like, the first game of the season, Thursday Night Football, I'm watching that game. I'm watching most of the games on Sunday afternoon. I'm watching Sunday night, and I'm watching Monday Night Football. And maybe not every week, but mostly every week I watch almost every game. Like, if you count watching Red Zone from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., that's watching every game, or at least the important shit. I had the note in my phone that I was going to talk about culinary arts and food and stuff like that, and since that was like my main career choice, I had went to a technical school during high school, which in my later years I kind of realized that a technical school was kind of like, hey, you might not be able to afford college, but here's something that can get you started on your feet type thing, so you can have a really decent job right out of high school, which is one of those things. I mean, I'm not going to say that I couldn't afford going to college. I didn't, but I was SurfSafe certified when I graduated high school. And that's something that actually you're supposed to have one of those. I currently don't. I mean, I'm still cooking, but I also kind of don't need one either. But you should have one. Do you need one to cook in a restaurant? No. Reflecting on your work ethic and, shit like that, that's how you end up making more money. Pretty much in any fucking job, let alone a kitchen. I also was, not just I haven't just been working in a kitchen. I've managed a kitchen for quite some time there as well. And, like starting back in my school years, that stuff was, obviously that was a cakewalk because it was school. But there's a lot of stuff that I did not do a part of that class. There was a lot of stuff that I could have done that I didn't do. There's like, like Iron Chef? Is that what it's called? I know I said iron there a second ago, but it is iron. I don't know how to say it because I'm from a weird fucking part of this planet. But anyway, cooking competitions that you could have been a part of. I was able to do that shit in school. Now, when I look back on it, I kind of wish I would have done it, but I'm not pissed off that I didn't do stuff like that because it is very, very fucking, it can get very stressful, very even confusing. Yeah, that's a good word to put it. That class wasn't much. I could have went to school after I graduated from high school. I could have went to like a more local, maybe like a community college type thing and went for culinary arts and got even more training done. But I know people that didn't even take my class that I would consider a higher rank than me when it comes to the kitchen. Somebody that has been on my channel in gameplay videos is CJ, and he's a couple years younger than me. Not that much, I don't think. When it comes to years, he has less experience than me, but when it comes to the systems and the brigades that he's worked with, he has more experience than I do. Like, I've worked in 6 different kitchens, I think, and 2 of those really don't even count. Let me see if I got the actual story here. Like okay, so actually this is the job that I'll talk about because this is like one of my first ones that I actually was like trying at, I guess. I worked at if you remember what was CC's Pizza, I worked at one of those. But that was my first job and I didn't care. If somebody heard me say that, they would get really upset. It was just one of those things where it's like I had to go get a job because my parents told me to. But when I worked at a Bob Evans when I was in high school. When I graduated high school, I had the SurfSafe certification, and I copied that and brought that into work and said I would like to work full time and I would like to, cook more and not do the dish stuff, which for them was awesome because I remember them going, oh, this is actually really cool because this is something that we didn't know that you were interested in. You could have been doing this a long time ago. And I was like, oh, well, I just figured let's do it now, whatever. Being put on the kitchen prep side of the work, and it wasn't the fact that I didn't like doing that work. It was the fact that this is going to sound so fucking mean. And I don't want it to sound mean because it was just something where I was like, is there anybody else that I can just switch with? So I don't have to work with this other person, or I can just work by myself. One of those things. Because bless her heart, I worked with this really very nice older lady on that shift. And granted, I was also a 18-year-old, 19-year-old fucking know-it-all piece of shit. I just thought that I was, running the show. It just came down to the point where I was like, I can do this work by myself. And it's 9 a.m. on a fucking Tuesday, and there's two of us doing this work. One of us can do it, or somebody can switch with me or whatever. Because I remember going up to these managers. The general manager of that restaurant was the worst person. She was just so unfair, and it wasn't just to me. I found out that she wasn't just unfair to me; she was unfair to everybody. And I was like, cool. That did make me feel better. I started getting blamed for other shit that people were doing. This happens in kitchens all the time. If one person does something and then they can just put the blame on somebody else immediately, and then the manager, the owner, or somebody was just going to run with it anyway, unless it just happens to fucking me, because it's happened to me in 2 different restaurants for sure, and it's super annoying. I remember this dude, I think his name was Andy or something like that. He was just a miserable bitch. It came down to something needed to be in the fryer. It was these little tiny onion petals, not an onion ring, an onion petal that you would throw into a deep fryer, and it would take a minute and a half to cook, and then you would place it on top of a burger or something or like that, and then you put the fucking frill. What is a grill frill pick? Whatever. Put one of them fucking things in there so it stays shut, and then you put it in the window. Dang, your fucking food's ready. But he had looked over and said, do you have the petals or something? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I've been 90 seconds. And then he just started flipping out, throwing shit, and slammed this microwave door shut so fucking hard that it got stuck. And it was one of those microwaves where the handle, the commercial thing where you press down on the handle and you pull it out, and that's where it opens out, the mechanism for opening the doors on the handle. And that got stuck, and nobody could open it. And then the very next day I got yelled at for the broken microwave, and I was like, I didn't do that, Andy did. But watch me. And then I took a butter knife and just stuck it in there and opened the door, and I was like, yeah, you guys are welcome. I'm not the guy that broke it, I'm the guy that fixed it. But then a couple of things, I could go back to the class there, because actually the one thing I wanted to mention, this is a funny story from the culinary class. Half of that was cooking, and the other half of that was baking. And the baking half was always around the holidays. I think it was all the way up to a certain dinner that we did in October. I really wish I remembered the name of that dinner. I think it was the OAC dinner, some random bullshit like that. Cook a bunch of food and serve appetizers, literally walk around with trays and serve hors d'oeuvres to these people. And it was out in the lobby, and it was also in our dining room. Doing that, we would always do that dinner, and I would always be the guy that was always in charge of the meat. I took that with pride. I made all the prime rib and did all the seasonings and cooking of that, and making sure that it's good. And then I would take it out there and carve it myself. That was always a really fun thing to do, and I did it every year because even the instructor was like, "You look like the type of guy that knows how to cook some fucking meat, so let's do this." So the baking half of that, I hated baking. I still do. I could probably take it a step back, and calm the fuck down, and try to give it a second chance there, but I just have a feeling that I would, it's just frustrating. You have to be very exact. And cooking, you can do a little bit less than that, a little bit more of this or whatever, and you'll still be fine. You might not get the exact result, but close enough type thing. There is no close enough in baking. If you fuck up a measurement in baking, you're screwed. You have to start over. We would always bake cakes a lot, and it was always we would always go a step up from the previous year. Actually, in my sophomore year, we made character cakes, which you would just buy a character pan, any cake pan that looks like something, like SpongeBob is a character, so that people had SpongeBob cakes. And it was a lot of those, by the way. Mine was R2-D2. I'm not even a Star Wars fan. I don't know, like, that's the only one that I found. And then after I picked R2-D2, I went, why the fuck did I pick a goddamn character that has, like, 6 different shades of the same goddamn color? I had to make white, darker white, a gray, darker gray, black, light blue, dark blue. When you make buttercream icing, it's one color, and then you have to keep adding colors to the buttercream and that's one pain in the ass right there. And then you have to decorate it yourself, and what a stupid idea that was. It looked great, by the way. That morning where I was done making the cake, like that whole week, I was time to bring it home and then give it to my family and make them eat it. My mom and my brother picked that cake up and took it home. I remember handing my brother the cake, and he just goes, "You didn't fucking make this." There's no way you made this. I was like, "Yeah, I did. I've been slaving over this for the past couple of days. I'll beat the shit out of you. Say it looks nice." I also made, this has nothing to do with culinary though, I made the mask from the movie The Mask. In ceramic fucking sculpture class, whatever, in high school, I made the mask. And it looked like absolute garbage. It wasn't any, like, if Anna fucking tried to make it, she'd make it, and she'd make it 10 times better than anybody. But I attempted to make what kind of looked like the mask. And I had it sitting in my room at one point, and he had found the mask. He brought it to me. I was asleep on the couch, and he woke me up and goes, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, I did it so well that, like, if you remember the movie, anytime he would look at it and move it in a certain direction, especially looking at the inside, it would always do that, like, pearlescent type glow from left to right. So on the inside of the mask, I had made it to where anytime you would move it in the light, that it would just shine bright like a diamond. Back to the culinary thing, back to cakes. All right, so now it's my senior year, and I'm one of the biggest pricks in this class. Year 3 of cakes, and now it's time to make our last cake, and it's the most, like, complicated one, because now it is a 3-layer cake. It's just a 3-layer round cake, and we had to do all of the decorating by ourselves. You got to spread all the icing on there. You gotta do your borders around the bottom, around the top, even on the sides, make it look nice and decorated, where you're doing, like, the thing that you would hold in your hand. It kind of looked like a really big, long top, like somebody didn't know how to make a top, and that's how you would, like, make a flower, by spinning it in your hand and pressing the icing bag, and then you would cut it off with scissors. You're not really cutting it. You're just picking it up off the thing with scissors, and then you would open the scissors down, and you'd place it on the cake. I know what I'm doing. I fucking suck at it. But anyway, I made this one cake. It looked great. But I was like, I have to put my mark on this cake. Because there's no way that I can make this look as good as it does, and them to not look at it and go, "That son of a bitch." Because I wanted them to know that it was mine. Now, I don't have the best handwriting, especially I don't have the best handwriting when it comes to writing, with the writing utensil being a parchment bag full of icing. Not my style. So I made somebody else do it. So I looked at somebody else. I was like, "Come over here and write on my cake." It was the last thing that had to go on there. And they're like, "Oh, what do you want me to write?" And I was like, I don't know what to write, because I'm like, if you just wrote "congratulations" or "get well soon," "happy birthday," "happy anniversary," any of the things that you would see on a cake, I told her to write Samuel L. Jackson on the cake. And I was like, make it look good. And so they did. And it was fantastic. And she looked at me and she goes, "You're going to get in trouble." And I was like, "There's no way. Look how good this looks." And she's like, "Yeah, it looks great, but you're not supposed to put a random name on it." I was like, "I don't care." So the very next day after that, like, we put them in the freezer or whatever, and then they go around and then they grade everybody's individual cake. I didn't even put my name on it, but they knew exactly whose it was. It wasn't even it wasn't even the main instructor. It was like the assistant instructor of the class. She saw me come through the door, and she just looks at me and goes, just hold on a second, just wait. And, like, I'm coming through you would always walk through the dining room and then go through the kitchen and then go upstairs into the locker room. And She comes out of the double doors from the kitchen into the dining room holding a cake in her hand. And I just started laughing. And she goes, I knew it. There's nobody else in here. Oh, crap. And then the other random story that I would have for that culinary class is when me and my classmate, Alan, we carved the pumpkin for the pumpkin carving contest for every shop. Every shop got a pumpkin, and then they were supposed to carve it. And then we were to judge whose was the best. And me and Alan went diabolical with this fucking pumpkin. When I tell you, like, when the culinary class makes the worst one, that means you know that we're just assholes. Because nobody else, I guess, wanted to do it. We were like, all right, fuck it, we'll do it, and we're gonna do it really bad. And what we did was basically cut its face. Oh, we didn't cut the top at all. We left the top like uncut. It wasn't cut. And we just cut through the pumpkin and cut its eyes out and its mouth out, pulled all the guts out of its mouth, and then that was it. And we were like, he has food poisoning. This is what happens when you when you eat undercooked chicken, you look like this pumpkin. And then we took a picture, like both of us on each side of the pumpkin, like trying to replicate its face. It was one of the best fucking pictures ever, too. That class was awesome. The people like in that class were fucking awesome. And like after, leaving Bob Evans, I went to the same place there. I mentioned it before, the pizza shop that I worked at. I was there for damn near 13 years. Like 8 or so years of that was maybe like the lowest ranking management to the highest ranking management within all that time. And it was just like to the point where it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Eventually, it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, I can't do this no more. And like to the fact where now that I'm doing shit like this, where I can sit here and talk into this microphone and bitch and bullshit about whatever the fuck I feel like or whatever. Like, this is my therapy and this makes me feel better. And I don't, this isn't my job, obviously. But as of right now, I wouldn't have the time in my life to do something as enjoyable as this if I still had my previous job. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to leave that job, just to get a part of my life back that I didn't have, or I basically just didn't give a shit about until I started having so much free time on my hands. I was like, oh my God, because I went from, working, 50, 60 hour work weeks to working 40 or less. Not to get cheesy, but I see my wife a lot more than I've seen her. Like this past year, we spent more time together than we did like the first 5 or 6 years that we were together. There's a silver lining to everything. It wasn't the worst job in the world. I just had to go. And I'm not going to sit there and slander anybody's name because I still like the place and I still go there. I am a patron. When it comes to it, though, like if somebody younger came up to me, I don't have a lot of younger family members, but if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, I was thinking about doing like a friend's kid would say something to me down the road about like, oh, I wanted to go into the kitchen and start learning some things. What do you think about that? I mean, go ahead. You need tough skin for it. You need really thick skin to work in a kitchen. I've worked with some very, very easy people that just got mad about everything, about all the time. And I'm like, you can't have that type of mentality in a kitchen. Like, it's bad. If I come up with another bit of a culinary story or whatever, that maybe another work story, I might just violently shove that in. Because I have, from the other place, I might actually just do a whole bit on the pizza shop, because it's I have way too many stories just from that alone. I'll be here all night and I don't want to do any of that. Well, with that being said, I do want to thank everybody for stopping by the Going with Rogue channel, checking out another episode of the Rogue Report. Once again, Rogue Report is coming out every Saturday now at 8 a.m. Another podcast on the channel is the Safely Control podcast, where me and Rob review SCPs. That is every Tuesday at 8 a.m. And then just keep a lookout for the gameplay videos when they come out. Soon enough here, actually, probably starting next week, I should play my final Dark Pictures game. So by the time this comes out, let's see what's going on there with the Dark Pictures anthology. I should wrap that up. And there's another game coming out, Directive 8020, I think it's called. I don't know if I know it's a Supermassive game. They said it was supposed to be Dark Pictures, but it's also not their style. Like, Dark Pictures is more like I don't know, like ritual horror type bullshit, if you will. If this one's a sci-fi horror game. I'm not saying that it won't work, but people are saying that. I don't know. Anyway, thank you once again. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. And keep your ear to the ground for the next one. And until then, we will see you later.